Hey everyone, happy Saturday. Hope you guys had great weeks. To everybody who reached out and just checked in on me and sent me lots of love and healing, I appreciate it so much. I'm definitely feeling better. Not 100% yet, but my back is definitely improved drastically. So that's definitely a win. And like I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the just all the energy and all of the help with my healing. Jumping into this week, we are going to be talking about intention. Had to remember there for a second. And it's interesting. I think that this topic actually came from a really interesting place. I think it's kind of funny, actually. It might seem so random to you, but to me, it made total sense. I was actually, while being, bedridden, I was basically flipping through social media, and I came across a video of a coach, and one of the players on the team was just really didn't think they could do it. They didn't want to go back out there. They had, they were just really upset. And then the coach talked them through the attitude and helped them through it. And so of course the people posting was like, oh man, this coach is amazing. Like, look what they did. They're so great, kind of thing. And I think there's quite a few videos similar to that where it's like, a kid is having a meltdown or some self-image issue, and then the parent will have a talk. Or in general, I think there's a lot of videos of parents talking to their kids and then they post them. And I mean, it's obviously a big trend. A lot of people really like it. But for me, I'm kind of doing, I guess, more of a negative point of view. They rub me the wrong way. Straight up. They drive me nuts. Because, okay, let's put ourselves in the shoes of this situation. So I'm going to use my husband. Let's say I'm having a really terrible day and I'm just doubting myself. I'm having a moment and I open up to my husband. He comes home. I'm like, hey, hubby, this is what's going on. I'm crying. I'm explaining myself to him. And this is this opportunity in this moment for him to connect with me, to be there for me, to really have this intimate moment of personal experience and connection and them being for me. And suddenly his response is to pull out his phone and start filming my breakdown, and then to publicly post this talk that he gave me to pep me up. And then people, worldwide are being like, man, he's the best husband. What great advice, and so good of him to be there for his wife. I would be like, no, he wasn't there for me. The ass put his phone in my face and filmed my emotional distress, right? And I think it's so funny where, that the intention behind those videos, I just don't buy it. Period. Okay, I just don't buy it. I do not buy that this is what if you're gonna be pepping somebody up and having a heart to heart, why would you film it? That completely disconnects the two people sitting there having the conversation. And obviously it fires me up, and the video, I mean, it doesn't really have anything to do with spirituality, but it got me thinking about intention behind things. Because the reason that they are, shared is because it's an amazing thing that people are stepping up and really having compassion and, having these talks with people. But, I mean, did people not before? I think the difference is that we just never filmed it, but whatever, regardless of the point, the intention is, the reason people share them is just, let's be a good example, and let's set the example of how we react in these moments. Okay, that's great, but again, I can't help but feel and maybe I'm wrong, but for me, when I see those, they make me mad, again, because of the point of why are you filming someone's emotional distress? That is so rude, and just, it's ruthless, quite frankly. And I can't help but feel the intention of those moments aren't necessarily to connect with that person and to be there for that person, because if you were, you wouldn't be filming it, and even if you filmed it, you wouldn't be posting it on the internet, So to me, the intention is actually really self-serving. The intention is they want to look wise, they want to look something, right? And it got me thinking about spirituality, because a lot of people, I think, don't understand their own personal intentions behind their own spiritual beliefs, and then on top of that, their spiritual practices, right? Where I see this quite often where, it's almost like a contradiction where people will be doing things that they would deem spiritual. So whether that's more in a biblical sense, maybe that's going to church regularly, or maybe that is meditating daily, maybe it's doing yoga, maybe it's, whatever it is for you. I would, argue that there are a lot of people out there, including myself, we all do this, we all have our moments, but if we get really, really honest with ourselves, a lot of the times we do things because of the image it creates for other people to perceive us, right? Like we want to do these things because we think that in order to be XYZ, someone who is XYZ would be doing these things. And since we want to look like XYZ, we're also going to do these things, right? And maybe that's confusing. I mean, another way to say it is that, if I really respect people or like I want to be more spiritual, okay? So I look at people who maybe I would quote unquote believe to be very spiritual, be very grounded, whatever that looks like. And I would be like, okay, well, let's copy some of the things they do in order to become more like them. And, there's not necessarily anything wrong within that, but the results I create with those actions are going to be a direct reflection of my intention for doing it. Do I want to be that person because, for some reason I'm jealous of them maybe? Maybe it's because I think they look good and I want people to look at me like I look at that person. Or is it maybe because I actually just want to get to know myself more? Is it because, maybe I am quick to anger and I want to learn how to slow down my reaction time and give myself time to breathe and really respond more accurately, right? And I think it takes a lot of courage to honestly assess the reason of why, the intention behind why we do things, and especially in the spiritual realm. Because, when it comes to spirituality, there are so many deep-rooted belief systems. I mean, I think everybody sounds, it's such an obvious statement. However, those deep-rooted systems oftentimes are going to guide us, whether in a negative or a positive response towards any type of spiritual practice. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that can be your intuition. But I really, really would like to challenge everybody this week to get a little bit gritty and to actually look at themselves and look at the intention behind what they believe and why they are doing certain things in their life. Because guys, I mean, I get that we all want to be something and we all want to improve, and there's people that we use as examples of what we want to move to. That's life, that's personal development, that's personal growth. However, if we're doing these things simply because we want people to perceive us a certain way, that is not authentic, right? That's the opposite. It's inauthentic, whatever. It's not authentic. Let's just go with it. And to be honest, it actually creates a feeling for other people around you of dishonesty. Because if you're not honest with yourself, then you're going to communicate in a way that isn't honest, because there is a disconnect. And people, even though you might think, oh, I'm being so sincere when I say this, and then somebody on the other side might be like, wow, you just seem so dishonest. And you're like, well, what's the gap there? Well, oftentimes it actually can be because we're not being honest with the intention of what we're saying, what we do, and what we believe, right? And I mean, it's not something that happens overnight. We all go back and forth, up and down in our life when we're, what we think we believe versus what we actually believe. I mean, man, that is not something you do overnight. But the more awareness we can have in why we do things, it's amazing how much room that's going to open up in your life, how you're going to feel so connected to yourself, how you're going to feel, like you can just show up into any room and be yourself because you know exactly why you're doing what you do, and you can have conviction in that, and the more conviction we have in why we're doing what we do, then that connects us with us, right? We live within ourselves. We don't live outside of ourselves. And that is a really powerful, powerful thing. And you can tell when you meet a person who is 100% integrous in their intention and what they're actually doing. So anyways, I think that maybe came across as a bit of a rant, but I'm passionate about this. I think it's a really important conversation to have, and I think it's a really important process personally to go through to really have a look at ourselves and again, really focus on the intentions of why we're doing what we do. So with that, I hope you guys, take it to heart and actually start thinking about some of the habits you have around spirituality or just in life in general if you desire, but, really start thinking about your spirituality and even think about it maybe in a negative way. Why is it if somebody says God or somebody starts talking about the Bible that you have a really negative reaction and want to run away, right? Like what's going on there? So, yeah, I hope that is lots to think about, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss anything. And of course, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram under AK Mediumship. Hope you guys have a great week, everyone.